It happened quietly at first. No breaking news banner, no emergency alert on your phone, just a few numbers flickering red on a screen somewhere deep inside the financial system. And by the time most people noticed, the damage was already done. 5 major banks didn't just stumble, they collapsed. Not because of one bad decision, not because of one bad week, but because a financial death bag that had been hanging over the system for years finally detonated. And right now, while the headlines are distracted, something even more alarming is happening behind the scenes. Silver is becoming unobtainable. Before you brush this off as another dramatic headline, stay with me for the next few minutes, because what I'm about to explain directly affects your money, your savings, and your future. This isn't theory. This isn't hype. This is the chain reaction most people were never supposed to notice until it was too late. And real quick, if you want clear, honest breakdowns of what's actually happening in the markets without the noise, hit the like button and subscribe to Market Truth Archives. It helps the channel more than you realize, and it keeps this kind of content coming while others stay silent. Now let's rewind for a moment, because to understand why 5 major banks just went down, you have to understand what they were sitting on. For years, banks didn't just take deposits and give loans. They turned into massive trading machines, loaded with derivatives, leveraged positions, and promises stacked on top of promises. These weren't backed by real assets. They were backed by confidence. And confidence is fragile. The death bag wasn't one single product. It was a combination of rising interest rates, underwater bonds, unrealized losses, and a system that assumed money would always stay cheap. When rates were near zero, banks loaded up on long-term bonds, thinking it was safe. What they didn't prepare for was what happens when rates rise fast. Those bonds lose value. On paper, it looks manageable. In reality, it's lethal. At first, the losses were unrealized, just numbers on a balance sheet. But when customers started pulling money out, those losses became very real. Banks had to sell assets at a loss to cover withdrawals. That's when the spiral began. One bank fell, then another, and suddenly trust evaporated. And in banking, once trust is gone, the game is over. Here's the part most people missed. These banks didn't fail because they were small or poorly managed. They failed because they were doing exactly what the system encouraged them to do. Maximize yield. Take advantage of cheap money. Assume stability. The death bag detonated not because of bad luck, but because the math finally caught up with reality. While regulators rushed in front of cameras saying everything was contained, something else started happening quietly. Institutional money began moving. Not into stocks, not into crypto, but into hard assets. And one metal in particular started vanishing from the market. Silver. For years, silver was treated like the forgotten cousin of gold. Cheap, abundant, almost boring. But silver isn't just a precious metal. It's an industrial metal. It's used in solar panels, electronics, medical equipment, defense systems. And unlike gold, silver gets consumed. Once it's used, a lot of it is gone for good. Here's the problem. Paper silver markets told the world there was plenty of supply. Futures contracts, ETFs. Promises of silver that didn't require actual delivery. But when fear enters the system, paper promises aren't enough anymore. People want the real thing, and when they ask for delivery, the illusion starts cracking. Mints began reporting delays. Dealers started raising premiums. Industrial buyers quietly locked in long-term supply contracts. And suddenly, silver that was available yesterday became barcarded. Today, not because demand exploded overnight, but because the real supply was never as large as advertised. This is what unobtainable actually means. Not that there is zero silver on Earth, but that the silver you think you can buy at spot price simply isn't there when you go looking for it. It's already spoken for. Already promised to someone bigger, faster, and closer to the source. Now, connect the dots. Banks collapse, confidence drops, money looks for safety. Gold gets the headlines, but silver moves quietly because it's smaller, thinner, and easier to squeeze. When a market that small meets even a modest shift in demand, the impact is massive. And here's where the story gets uncomfortable. The same system that told you banks were safe is the system telling you silver is plentiful. The same accounting tricks, the same paper-over-reality approach. And just like with the banks, it works until it doesn't. You might be wondering, why now? Why is this happening all at once? The answer is timing. Rising rates exposed weak balance sheets. Debt levels limited rescue options, and global confidence is already shaken. This isn't a single event. It's a convergence. Governments can backstop banks, they can print liquidity, they can change the rules. But they can't print silver, they can't create trust instantly, and they can't rewind years of mispricing risk. What makes this moment different is awareness. People are no longer blindly trusting the system. They're asking questions, they're reading balance sheets, they're watching delivery times, and once that awareness spreads, it doesn't go back in the bottle. This is why Market Truth Archives exists, not to scare you, not to sell you hype, but to connect the dots most channels avoid because it's uncomfortable or unpopular. The real story isn't that 5 banks collapsed. The real story is that the system absorbed it and moved on, while quietly shifting risk somewhere else. And that somewhere else is showing up in hard assets, supply chains, and markets that were never designed to handle stress. Silver is just one indicator, a warning light on the dashboard. As we move forward, expect more contradictions. Strong jobs numbers alongside bank failures, market rallies alongside tightening credit, calm language from officials while supply shortages grow. This is what late-cycle systems look like. Smooth on the surface, brittle underneath. If you've made it this far, take a second and comment below what you think is really driving these collapses. Is it bad management, or is it a system that can't survive higher rates? Your comments help push this conversation into the open, and share this video with someone who still believes everything is fine because the market closed green today. Awareness spreads person to person, not headline to headline. The death bag has already detonated. The banks were just the first shockwave. What comes next depends on whether people keep trusting paper promises or start paying attention to what's actually available in the real world. Stay alert, stay curious, and stay with Market Truth Archives.